Yes, I'm Hailee. I fit smart meters for a living. Um, I am transgender, and yeah, we're doing this for Pride.
Perfect. And so, can you tell me a little bit about your journey? So, wherever you want to start your journey from to where you're at now today, sitting here talking to me.
Wow, it sort of like spans back to when I was 24, which is so many years ago. Um, I tried to come out first time. Only recently have I sort of like fully started living as Hailee. That was back in November. Big monumentous day when sort of applying for a deed poll, and that's sort of when all the paperwork starts. So yeah, that's been my short version of my journey so far.
Yeah. And so, obviously, on that journey, there's a support network that you have around me. So, can you tell me a little bit about that support network that you've built up over the years and sort of how that's come to help you?
My support network has actually changed and shrunk quite a lot. I've got my lovely wifey person who's upstairs at the moment, bless her. She's been like the biggest part of my rock, and I've changed my social network over the years and just built that up, and working and becoming friends with people like Tom and Altaf and Sam and Muzz. They've all supported me, and yeah, it's been, couldn't have done it without either of them, and my sister Katie as well. She's been massive, and my mum. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
good network to have.
So, obviously, with sort of your decision to transition, what was people's reactions when you sort of came out in November and sort of said that you want to do this kind of thing?
It was very supportive. April's obviously known since like we started dating 4 years ago, but like one of Tom's reactions was one of the best that I've had, because it was because of him putting a like saying to me like, "Oh, you're a legend," like you keep being yourself and keep doing that, and that's what maybe then gave me the last shove to actually do it. And yeah, he was proud when I came out. Sam, Muzz, family wise, my sister Katie, she was like, "Wow, that's amazing, good for you." And she sent up a little like makeup parcel and bits and pieces like that. And I text her messages, "Oh yeah, Kate, I got this new dress," or whatever. And yeah, we chat quite a lot. Same with my mum. And yeah, like I said, April's been my rock basically. She's like, "Yay, you've got your driving license back," or "You've got this," and it's always a big celebration, even though they're tiny things. So yeah, good reaction.
So, how important do you think, obviously, that network that you mentioned, how important do you think that's been over this stage of life, but also sort of other stages of your life as well?
It's been really important, especially my sister. So she's obviously like known me the longest. Um, yeah, Kate's support's been massive, and April's over the past 4 years. I couldn't have done it without either of them, really, to be honest.
Yeah, perfect. And so, obviously, with change like this, there's really high points. So, can you tell me about some of those high points that you've experienced, even if they're little things to some people? What are they like to you? These high points?
It's like when I got my driving license back, I was so excited. I opened it and April was jumping up and down. I was jumping up and down. And I phoned Sam and said, "Sam, Sam, 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 I've got my driving license back." And, sort of like he couldn't shut me up for about 5 minutes. Things like going to the bank with the depot and, getting everything changed over to your new name. And then when your bank card comes through and, you sort of like open your phone, you've got your bank card with your new name on it. It's just like incredible feeling. What might seem so small to other people, but yeah, it just brings so much joy, really does.
Yeah, and obviously there is lots of high points, but on any journey there's kind of there's lower points as well and tougher times. And I guess maybe if you could talk a little bit about some of those tougher times and how you and your support network have helped you through those tougher times, perhaps.
Yeah, there's been low points with actual people. So we've had some of April's family members who've been against it and have gone quiet, and where that doesn't sort of like directly affect me, right? But because it affects April, I'm kind of that's what gets me every time. You know, if April's upset or something's going against her, it's like, okay, it's because of me. So that is a low point. To go along, sort of like to give an example of a high point and a low point, it's like when you go shopping, like clothes shopping, which I do quite often with April, you know, buy lots of new dresses and tops and skirts and bits and pieces like that, and you come home, you do sort of like a bit of a fashion show together and whatever, and sort of like after sort of like the major high, it's sort of like you sort of like realise that you're only early on in your journey and you don't quite see who you think you are in your head in the mirror kind of thing. So you sort of like look and like there's bits missing or, you know, bits that shouldn't be there, and it's called gender dysphoria. I did a post about it a little while ago, but yeah, I think the whole gender dysphoria thing is kind of quite a I don't know, it sort of like hits you after something major happens, and it's like, oh yeah, but I've still got to do this, or this isn't going on yet, and yeah, that's quite a low.
How do you get through those times? Because obviously it's going to be difficult, isn't it? So how do you sort of keep on going to get to where you want to be?
Honestly, I don't know. Altaf asked me a couple of weeks, probably yeah, just over a week ago. You know, sort of like, how do you keep going? And Tom asked the same question, and I couldn't answer. You know, it's I've gotten to the stage in my life now where I've taken that major step. Right, everything else isn't quite as big, I suppose. So I've got the hard part out of the way. So I just pick myself up, get dressed in the morning, go to work, and sort of,
Yeah.
I don't know, sort of cover it with sparkles, I suppose. You know, always trying to be happy, always trying to be smiling, and sort of like make those around me happy, which then makes me happy, I suppose, is my recipe for getting through it.
Sort of moving away from sort of the highs and the lows, how have you sort of seen openness towards people from the LGBTQ society sort of change over your life, and sort of that awareness and understanding of sort of diversity? How have you seen that sort of change?
It's gotten better. I was having a discussion with someone a couple of weeks ago on a social network about the word queer, which is part of the LGBTQ community now. Growing up, you know, between sort of like the ages of, well, up until about the age of mid-20s, I suppose, that word was a no. You just didn't say it. It was a slur, and you know, people have sort of like reclaimed it as such. There's more accepting people, but there are also quite a few who are dead against it, say things to you in the street, give you funny looks. So yeah, but it's greatly improved. That's why, you know, first time I've tried to come out when I was 24, didn't exactly go down very well, but now at the age of, I'm going to say mid-30s, it's gotten a lot better, and that's why it's sort of like a better time to
Yeah.
be yourself now.
Why do you think? Why do you think it's gotten better from that sort of 10-year period?
There's been a lot of progress going back to like the 80s. I think it was 1983. Up until that point, Pride was just gay pride, which then in 1983 changed to lesbian and gay pride. And I think it was not until 1996 it then became the LGBT. Yeah, no Q at that time. But yeah, it's sort of, it's progressed. It's got, pride celebrations have gotten bigger. People were sort of more, well, companies have become more diverse, more accepting, putting in more support. So it's changed massively.
Yeah. And so, what does Pride Month mean to you, kind of thing?
It's a month which I wish would last all year long, a bit like Christmas, because I'm a Christmas girl. It's a month to show everyone about diversity and to be proud of yourself. Doesn't matter who you are, what your skin colour is, sexual orientation, gender, non-gender. It doesn't really matter. I just, it's about being proud of yourself, being proud of what you do, who you are, and who you are on the inside.
Yeah. And so, how important do you think things like Pride Month are? I know in some senses, Pride Month should be year round. It should just be accepted. But how important do you think that a month like this is to building people's understanding and acceptance of people from different sort of backgrounds and walks of life?
It's really important because it's an opportunity. People kind of expect to see posts on social media and to talk about it and to see flags in windows like we've got. So it's a really good sort of like opportunity to, be open and honest. Some of my posts have been too honest, maybe, but I want people to see, what it's like to go through something like this. So they've either got the courage to come out themselves, or it can be more supportive to their co-workers, their friends, their family, because a lot of people just sort of like go quiet and don't know what to say, walking around on eggshells. But it's really important to get messages out.
Yeah, oh, perfect. And so moving over to the work side of things, obviously, sort of the gas and electric industry is very much, I'd say, quite a traditional industry as such.
That's one way of putting it. Yeah.
So what's your experience, obviously, being working in the industry since you've kind of transitioned?
It's been okay. Some customers sort of go quiet and move away when they see my ID badge, because I don't always look like this when I go to work. I've always got my nails done, but next to no makeup and bits and pieces, so they don't really know until they see my ID badge or see that I signed my name as Hailee on a gas safety notice. But like yesterday, someone said to me, "Oh, that's different." I knew what they were getting at, and I said, "Right, what's different?" And they said, "Oh, your hands." Right, and they pointed out to my nails. They said, "That's a really nice colour, and you've got really nice hands." I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "I'm actually, going through the process of changing my gender." So that was really nice. You do get some negatives, but as a whole, it's been okay. And industry-wise, working with SMS has been the most accepting firm that I've worked for, and that's made a difference in a traditional industry, like you said.
Why do you think that SMS have got that sort of different approach to other companies sort of towards your transition?
I think it's the people who run it have got a different outlook on life to most people. I've never met anyone like them, to be honest. Tom's a very open person. He's seen diversity throughout his life with his, with people he knows. Altaf's, gone through quite a lot, and so yes, I think that's why they've got a different outlook on life and want to help and support people going through things like this.
And so that kind of touches on the next question I was going to ask, sort of about the support from SMS. But obviously you've got two area managers up here in Sam and Muzz. So can you tell me a little bit about sort of, they're sort of on the ground with you kind of every day. So can you tell me a little bit about the support that they've given you sort of over being with SMS?
Yeah, Muzz has been a long time friend. I've known Muzz a while. So when I met up with him again, starting for this firm, he was like, "Oh, hi Hailee, how you doing?" He was very accepting. I absolutely love Muzz to bits. He's brilliant. Always just like phone him up for a chat. Like yesterday when I phoned him about advice on today, he said, like, any time you need me for anything, right, all you got to do is ring me. And yeah, that's the kind of person Muzz is. Sam, because he's my direct manager. Like when I got my driving licence back, like I said before, I just like phone him up and say, Sam. Right, and he knew I was excited about something, and he's like, "Yeah, that's really cool." And he's even said to me, like, he appreciates that, he gets to share these moments with me. So he's very supportive.
Brilliant. And so obviously there may be people watching this, I'm sure there will be people watching this video that are maybe in the same position that you were when you was 24 and where you was back in November. So what sort of advice and guidance would you give to those people?
Change your support network. Make sure it's right. If there are people who you think like maybe would be against what you're about to do, you can always change friends, rebuild your life, and start from scratch. but the kind of like the main thing is you've got to be happy. It doesn't matter what you do in life, whether it's work, friends, going out, whatever. You've got to be happy. So it's important to be yourself. Like, if you try and pretend to be someone else, all it's going to do is eat you up inside. There are great companies out there that you can work for who are supportive as the one I work for. It's just endless out there. You can sit there and it can feel like doom and gloom. You think, oh, if I come out, I'm going to lose this person, I'm going to lose that, I'm going to lose this, work's going to go down the toilet, career's finished. You know, when I first came out when I was 24, I lost my best friend from childhood, and that hurt. That really sucked. But it's like Tom said to me a couple of weeks ago. He said, like, then they weren't really your true friend. So just do it, be yourself, be proud, and do the best you can.
Can you tell me what it now feels like to be Hailee after this whole journey that you've been on? What does it feel like to sit here and talk to me and be Hailee and be as happy as you are?
It's incredible. You know, even with the lows that we were talking about earlier, to wake up every day and, you know, put on an ID badge that says Hailee, be able to sign my name on a gas notice. Not that I like cutting people off, but yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Cars now in my new name, and, you know, fully living life as me. I've never been happier. Really, never been happier.
So was it kind of like, have you always known that you were Hailee kind of thing, and it was sort of becoming Hailee fully kind of thing? Was that sort of, is that the journey that you've been on kind of thing?
Yes and no, because there's this sort of like a myth, as it were, that, you know, people know when they're kids, right? And growing up, they just know that they're the wrong gender. That didn't happen for me because I wasn't, you know, exposed to like the LGBTQ community as a young child. Yes, fine. I used to play with my sister's Barbies and Polly Pockets, which were quite popular in the 80s and 90s. And I think she had a, what was it? She had no, I can't think of the name, but she had this castle anyway, sort of thing. I used to play with it and, you know, hang around with her a lot. So yeah, I was a little bit girly, I suppose, as a kid, but I didn't know any different. And then over the years, I kind of like knew something was wrong. So I started dating both men and women, thinking like, okay, maybe I'm gay. And that didn't sit right either, and I just didn't know. And then all of a sudden, 24 came, and I thought, no, this is who I am. I know who I am. But then I sort of like had to retract from that and sort of like leave it until my life was right to do it.
Yeah. So what was it in your life that just felt right at that moment kind of thing? Because it's obviously been like 24, it wasn't something that you felt that you could do. So what was it, like a combination of things that kind of brought you to that point where you thought, yeah, this is it, this is the right time?
I think it was a kind of like a build-up. It was more of a, I'd actually told someone, which was April, when I first met her. Or obviously we'd become friends first. It wasn't the first thing I said. But then, yeah, it's just sort of like then changing my social network over the 4 years to get myself in the right place, changing friends, moving. You know, I moved like 250 miles from where I originally was. I completely changed my life, changed my job. It was just putting everything together first before I could then come out and say, right, this is me. Anyone who doesn't like it, sorry. And that was it.
Yeah, obviously I knew you sort of, I think before you came out kind of thing. I remember we was connected on LinkedIn previously, and I've watched your journey kind of thing and seen how excited you've sort of come over that time. It's been really nice to sort of witness and almost, I guess, witness from a distance kind of thing, but obviously get to know you a little bit over time. And yeah, I guess that's something that a lot of people have been able to share with you kind of thing, that journey, and sort of see the different highs and the lows sometimes as well. So So it's been really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of. Is there anything else that you sort of wanted to add in terms of just anything in general, really, whether it's to do with transition or just life or work?
I don't know, because there's so much to cover, you know. Um, it's just it has been quite a journey actually, and it's still a lot to go through. But the hardest part has been the coming out and the getting the paperwork organised and getting things like passport photographs signed so I can send that off. It's expensive as well. But yeah, I think I don't know, because you know, you don't have to include this in the video, but it's there seems to be a big thing which is really good about trans rights at the moment, and there's going to be some sort of a summit held by the government, because now where there was sort of like a 2-year waiting list to go to like the gender identity clinic, it's because of COVID, it's now gone up to like 5 years, which isn't fun.
No.
But there are private clinics out there. It's just mega bucks. Can't always afford to, you know, pay. I think one of the operations is like 6,500. Another one's 3,500. You know, and just getting in to see a doctor so you can. So with going to the gender identity clinic, you have to sort of like see someone there first, so then you can sort of like finish off the process of fully changing your life, because without that certificate you can't get a new birth certificate, and that is the very, very last thing to sort of like change in your life, and can be quite momentous, I suppose,
Yeah.
once you got that. But
So I guess, and this is probably the final question to wrap up on, but when that birth certificate comes through the post, what is that going to mean to you?
that's going to mean the world to me. I mean, like, my life's completely changed, and I'm completely who I want to be. No more pretending to be someone I'm not. It's going to be framed. I know that much, and put up on the wall, definitely. It's yeah, that would be one of the biggest days of my life. Otherwise I get shot by my wife. But yeah, because the wedding day is the best day of my life. But yeah, that would be definitely mean the world to me.